Good afternoon, everybody. Back here with another video. Sorry for being a little late with this one. So this video covers content presented on April 4th. A lot of the stomach and pancreas and liver physiology, as well as the bacterial content. And there will not be any cards for the epidemiology presented on April 5th. So we'll just dive right in. You're going to be in first aid under microbiology to start. And we're going to go into the basic bacteriology and bacterial structures. We're going to be in basics. And we're going to want most of the cards activated here. I will go over the ones that we do not want to have to, do not want activated. So if your cards are oriented the same as mine with this little arrow pointing down, we'll just go through it a little slowly. So you're going to want all the cards except getting down to these ones, going to the specifics on the spore of bacteria. And then you're going to keep going down until you get to more spore ones here. Do not want those. They're just too little, too detailed. And then you're going to keep going down. After these last spore ones, you'll go about 6 cards, and then there'll be 3 here, talking about specific names of bacteria. And then oligosaccharides, which weren't touched on. That specific specificity wasn't touched on today. So those 3 here you do not want. And then we're going to go down, and then the last 3 at the bottom you do not want. I would recommend learning the shapes based off the lecture versus what the monkey cards have, because these just aren't fully accurate to what we need to know for the learning objectives, I should say. They are probably still accurate, but that is it for bacterial for now. So we're going to minimize that, get out of there, and we're going to go to endocrine next. And within endocrine, you're going to go to anatomy, adrenal cortex, and medulla. Then we're going to be in endocrine pancreas cell types. And I would recommend grabbing the 2 B cell ones here, cards 3 and 4, and then coming down and grabbing the 2 alpha cells and how they secrete glucagon in the islets of Langerhans. Right? And then I'm going to minimize that out of endocrine, and we're going to be back into GI. Woohoo! We're going to be in physiology, and we're going to start, and I'm just going to go through all of these slowly. So in CCK, you're going to want to come down and grab, I can't count how many that is. You're going to start that one function of CCK is to decrease gastric emptying and grab the rest here. I believe that's like 8 cards, 7 or 8 cards. The last of those is what you want. In gastrin, you're going to want the first, how many is that? 7, the first 7 cards here, and then you're going to skip 2 and grab the 10th. And then you're going to come down and find these 2 cards. That one function of gastrin is to increase gastric motility and to increase gastric hydrogen ion secretion or acid. And then the last card way down here is gastric secretion is most stimulated by stomach distension. Ghrelin, not any of them yet. GLP, not any of those yet. It's mentioned, but just not, there's no good cards for it. GDIP, no. Leptin, no. Motilin, no. Nitric oxide, you can grab both those. Those are helpful. Peptide Y, didn't grab those yet. Secretin, you want to skip the first 3 and the last one. All the other ones are great cards to have. Somatostatin, not yet. It's mentioned, but I just didn't dive down that rabbit hole. And then we're going to grab the first one, skip the second, grab 3 and 4, skip the last card for VIP. Those ones are good as well. And then we're going to keep going down. We're just going to go into gastrointestinal secretory products. So gastric acid, you want to grab the first 4. And then if you come down to the bottom, skip the last one, grab the first 3 going back up, skip 3, and then grab these 2 here, talking about the bicarbonate and the acid exchange. And then histamine, I didn't grab any of those. I would just recommend going based off the lecture slides from Dr. Wagner. Intrinsic factor, the first 4 would be helpful. And mucus, the first 2 would be helpful. Pepsin, all of them, those are all great. Saliva, that was from a previous video. So if you don't have these cards, I'd recommend watching my previous video. Pancreatic secretions, we'll jump right into there. So we're going to be in basics. You want to skip the first 2. And I think we activated some in the middle here, but now we can activate more on that big group. So skipping the first 2, and then the last 5, grabbing these 2 in the middle. So pancreatic secretions are isotonic to plasma, and then up to the sympathetic innervation on pancreatic secretion. Then we'll jump to amylase. You want the first 2. Lipase, you want the first one. Protease is trypsinogen, all of them except the first one. Yeah, all of them except the first one. And then in carbohydrate absorption, I just grabbed two here. That pancreatic and salivary alpha amylase hydrolyzes. This is very specific. The 1,4 glycosidic bonds and starch, but just knowing that amylase is a polysaccharide, digesting protease would be helpful. Fat digestion, same thing, but for lipase. That lipase is for fat digestion. And protein absorption, all of them except this first one here, which we just saw up above. And then these two here going into like L-amino acids and dipeptides and tripeptides and how those are absorbed. We didn't go into much detail on those, but all those other ones in there, if they're not activated from proteases, trypsinogen above, those are helpful. So the last two, and then these ones in between. Vitamin and mineral absorption, I would go off the lecture slide for alcohol, and I believe it was aspirin. Pyre patches, those are previous lecture or previous video. I went over that. Bile, you want to grab the first 5 here, skip one, grab this card here, skip another, grab this card here, skip another, and then grab these next 4. So I think I had one activated in here previously. And then bilirubin, I just grabbed this one. The unconjugated bilirubin is removed from the blood by the liver. I think we talked about bilirubin disposal or excretion in the previous block. So if you want review, I recommend looking through these cards. There's a lot of good ones on like UDP, glucuronidyltransferase. That might be helpful to review that content, or if you want that for boards, you can activate them now or write a note for the future. But that is going to wrap it up for this video. And so, like I said, there are not going to be any cards for the epidemiology, the statistics lecture that was presented. So that will wrap up this week, and I'll see you again next week. Happy studying.